Shalom, brothers and sisters. Today, we're going to talk about where is our time going? You know, I never expected this to go the way it's gone. All glory to Yah for helping to refine me in some things, helping me to see that I've been doing things the wrong way regarding the Sabbath, regarding where I'm putting time. Remember, as I talked about yesterday, this is a heart issue. This is one of the implicit commands of the Torah. Because idolatry is not explicitly always spelled out in Torah. It's not. And if you're still literally trying to find all these commands, like, okay. The picture I chose this morning is of a flag, right? The flag salute. But there are other forms, the oath. When you make an oath to anyone besides the Creator, Yehovah, you're in idolatry. You've made a covenant with men. We see this with Joshua, Joshua is deceived by the men claiming they have new wineskin and the wineskin was torn because it's new wineskin and new wineskin can't hold wine. And they believe that they are from a far distance, so they make a covenant with these people not to destroy them. And then they find out that these people are literally right next to them, and they're of the people Father Yah commanded they destroy. Their oath was taken in haste, and it is a form of rebellion and idolatry. This is why, I've talked about this like Japheth's oath as well, right? Japheth was not eligible to be king. What do the people of Israel do? They go and make an oath with him, saying, "We will make you king if you deliver us." Not trusting in Yah is idolatry. Placing a man to be your king is idolatry. But many people, they really just want to do what's right in their own eyes. Regarding the Sabbath, I was not really listening to Father's affliction about things regarding wearing tzitzit every day. And why would that not apply right now? And what's really interesting, and we'll get into that, that was in regards to the ultimate sign of worship, the Sabbath. We worship is who we are. Worship is what defines us. It's not just singing songs. It's much deeper, and where our worship is either fully committed in our heart to Yahweh. But if there's any variance, like 1% of your heart still loves to be entertained, that 1% is idolatry. Bowing down for your Adonai. Exodus 20, verse 5. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and fourth generations of those who hate me. So we see here, like, this is connected to making an image, either an image of what is in the heavens, something supernatural, or what is on earth, something natural, something created. And this is what we talked about with the golden calf. The golden calf was an image of something created and was replacing the Elohim, Moses. Because Moses is called an Elohim before all of the Exodus begins. So, and we look at the passage again, right? Exodus 32. They weren't concerned about Yahweh being missing. And this is key to understanding. They were worried about Moses vanishing and not coming back. That was what led them to build the golden calf. So bowing down for your Adonai, this is what we do, right? If you fall down and worship an image, any image, it could be an image in your heart. And Torah doesn't. This is one thing that's not explicitly in Torah. That an idol can be in your heart. If you've gone Torah alone, right? Then when Ezekiel says this, you just ignore it. Some of the elders of Israel came to me and sat down before me, and this is Ezekiel 14. And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their hearts. The Torah doesn't say that, so you just throw it out. It's because you take Torah literally. You don't listen to the voice of Yahweh. You can have an idol in your heart, and Torah implicitly does say that. This is one of the things implied in the Torah, that you've set up an image of God in your heart, right? I mean, this is why the worship of a man is idolatry, because you've created this image of him that doesn't exist. This is why I love all of the Tanakh, like Isaiah 2:22. Stop regarding man, whose breath of life is in his nostril. Why should he be esteemed? And this is another sign of worship and another sign of idolatry, that you're esteeming someone that draws breath. You should only draw your esteem to Yahweh. Only Yahweh. But again, Torah doesn't explicitly say this. This is all implied from the 10 words, right? And there's a couple places. So let's go to that and look at that in depth a little more. And that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go back. Open a new tab. Thank you. You shall have no other Elohim before me. And this word is another one. Like, if you're just looking at the strict Torah instructions, which it may be more than you think. You'll have no other Elohim before me, right? Or beside me. And this is key. Like, what does besides me mean? Like, you have Elohim Yahweh, and you have someone on his right side. That's idolatry. You shall not make for yourself an idol, or any likeness of what is in the heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the water underneath. So we have the supernatural, the Shamaim, the Eretz, Haaretz, that's the earth, and then you have the sea. I don't remember the word for that in Hebrew, but these are different levels of images. And why would you think, if you're making for yourself an idol, that it has to be external? Do you think the Israelites started out with their image externally? I mean, they knew exactly what they wanted to replace Moses with. Make us Elohim who will go before us, right? And this is another key to understanding this. If you look at what Father promises them back in Exodus 23, what does it say? Behold, I am going to send an angel before you to keep you along your way and to bring you to the place which I have prepared. And this is like an English translation, so most people don't even realize, like, this is not really correct. A Malak is just a messenger. It can be a man, and often is a man. Malak will go before you. Who is this? Who is going before them? As Exodus 23 says, and Exodus 32 says, I want to make this image go before me instead of Moses. Because Moses has wandered away. He's not helping us anymore. Keep watch of yourself before him and listen to his voice. Do not be rebellious toward him, for he will not pardon your transgressions, since my name is in him. I mean, who else could this be talking about? Like, if you read Torah, there is no angelic being that's doing this. It's Moses. Worship is one of the signs we aren't fully serving Yehovah. And this is why it is important not to just understand what is idolatry. Oh, and as I went over last time, but what is worship? What is worship? And this is going to be really key to, like, separating yourselves, making yourselves kadosh from the world. To fully grasp both sides of this topic is to understand the explicit and implicit Torah. You see, this is something very important to understand. Torah is not always explicit. Why did the people, there's another example, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 132. Then Yehovah heard the sounds of your words, and he was angry and swore an oath, saying, not one of these men, this evil generation, shall see the good land which I swore to give to your fathers. Why? Because of their constant grumbling, constant rebellion. But Torah does not have explicit commands against grumbling and rebellion. It doesn't. It says you should obey the voice of Yehovah and his messenger Moses, but it does not say directly that rebellion and grumbling are a sin that will lead to death. And this is what it's ultimately talking about. They're going to be cut off in the wilderness. And let's look at Numbers 14 here. This is what that passage is based on. So Yehovah said, I have pardoned them according to your word. But indeed, as I live, all the earth will be filled with the glory of Yehovah. Surely all the men who have seen my glory and my signs, which I have done in Egypt and in the wilderness, yet have put me to the test these 10 times and have not listened to my voice. This is key. See, this is the implicit Torah. Listening to Yah's voice. Like, when you come on like any sort of affliction, any sort, like a rash, a disease, pain in your back, like any affliction, you got to be asking, am I listening to the voice of Yah? Am I doing what is righteous? Tzedekah. They shall by no means see the land which I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of those who spurned me see it. By my servant Caleb, because he had a different Ruach, who has followed me fully, I will bring into the land which he entered, and his seed shall take possession of it. See, Caleb was righteous and had what? A different Ruach. Now, this is interesting as this is the first and only time this is mentioned. That hearing the voice of Yehovah fills you with a different Ruach. And this translation is interesting as, someone tells us to not allow a different Ruach in. The word there is
Strong's H 312. Acher. Acher.
and it's translated as other, another, next following men's strange. And probably a better translation from different would be a separated ruach, something that, you see what those around you are doing and it doesn't faze you. You see their constant complaining, their constant rebellion, and it doesn't faze you. You see people, in Babylon drawn to bow down to their golden calf, and you say, I don't want any part of that. I don't want that in my heart at all. Worship is more than we've been taught, and this should be obvious now, right? Genesis 22:5 is one of the first places it's used. And Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey while I get the boy and go over there, and we will worship Shahak, and we will return to you. Excuse me. This is the first instance of the word worship, and one of the first, I should say, there. Let's fix that. It's the future. And Abraham didn't go tell it on a mountain and sing a hymn or worship music. He heard the voice of Yah and sought to obey it. Abraham's worship was his obedience. In Genesis 26:5, because Abraham listened to my voice. Listened to my voice. You see, before Moses wrote the explicit and implicit Torah that's in Exodus to Deuteronomy, it was only from the voice of Yah that people knew these commands. And this is what he's telling him, right? He kept my charge. He kept my commandments, my statutes, my laws. Torah, Hakka, mitzvot, mamak. I forgot how to pronounce that word. But these are the four signs of obedience: the charge, the mitzvot, the statutes, and the laws. All of these came from the voice of Yah, and they still do. You see, this is so important of a question to ask. Why didn't Israel, I'm sure Sabbath was in the voice of Yah. I mean, why would Moses be talking about it in Exodus 16 before the 10 words are given. He's trying to retrain them to hear the voice. And, this is what we see on the mountain, right? They hear the voice, the thunderings, the shakings, and it fills them with fear, but not a fear to obey. Prostrated for Yah, Genesis 24:26. The man bowed low, shakah, and worshipped Yahweh. Exodus 4:31. So the people believed, and they heard Yahweh cared about the sons of Israel and that he had seen their affliction. So they bowed low and worshipped. Exodus 12:27. That you shall say it's a Passover sacrifice to Yahweh, who passed over the houses of the sons of Israel in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians, but delivered our homes. And the people bowed low and worshipped. This posture is the key to truly worshiping, and this is the problem with the Christian attitude. Prostration, humility are required to fear Yah. And the same is true for those of us seeking the truth. Many people keep the same bad ideas. You know the truth, yet you cling to your own traditions. That is only what you know that matters and not what you do. This goes back to the affliction, right? When you are afflicted for not obeying, do you say, I will have peace in my heart, though you walk in drunkenness? And the affliction comes, the curse comes. You're like, oh, it's just the curse of the land. I shouldn't reflect on what sin I'm in so Yah can heal me. So he can break me free of this curse. Let's go to a passage I absolutely love about hearing the voice of Yah. And Samuel said, has Yahweh as much delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahweh? You see, why would we think that it's just the written Torah? And the Talmudists are just as bad here. They try to replace hearing the voice. Go back, and I love the way this is sung. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Yisrael, hear the voice. Don't listen to men and their Talmud. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to the doctrines of men. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and insubordination is the wickedness and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahweh, he has also rejected you from being king. Let's look at that passage the brother brought up, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or if I command the grasshopper to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, and it's funny, this is what I was talking about last night. This is the affliction that's going to be coming to every land. And, what is the head of all of these nations of wickedness? The USA. Again, look at the meme Father led me to make. The man worshiping the flag, paying it obeisance, saluting it, swearing an oath to it. It's idolatry. And this land is filled with idolatry. And my people who are called by name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their evil ways, then I will listen from heaven. I will forgive their sin. I will heal their land. Hallelujah. If, I want the promised land to be healed, to have a gateway for us to get in. But I also know from reading Torah, implicitly, if you're set free from bondage and you're clean to the ways of Babylon, you're not going to enter the promised land. We just read Deuteronomy 1, right? Like, why could they not enter in? Because their heart was not fully there. Their heart was not fully sold out. They still had the bondage of Egypt, that idolatry of some form in their heart that they refused to let go. Their worship was not pure. This is where we got to get. Like, we have to understand. It's not just head knowledge, right? It's not just head knowledge that's going to make you be able to enter the promised land. Then the Lord said, because this people draw near me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but they remove their hearts far from me. It's not Torah, right? So we don't have to pay attention to it. But this is teaching implicitly what is in Torah. That this is the Shema, that your whole heart listen to the voice of Yah and only worship Him. That you have no other images or statues of any kind externally or internally. That nothing stands in the way of you swearing an oath to Yehovah alone. Nothing. Their fear of me is in the command of men learned by rote. This is what religion has done to us. This is what we got to get out of. Humble yourself to hear the voice of Yah. Don't fear Him because you've been told to fear Him. Fear and respect Him because you know Him. Yada Yah. You know Him. And this goes to the last slide I have here. How do we do the Sabbath as a sign of our worship? This is going to be a long one. If we do Sabbath in our own way, and I know many of us are still learning, myself included, when I went and traveled on the Sabbath and tried to prepare, and this is something I talked about yesterday, I didn't make clear, I prepared by buying things I needed to keep the house warm on the Sabbath. There's nothing wrong with doing so at Walmart on the 6th day, but I prepared on the 7th day. And this is something I'm still trying to do the way Yah wants. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to fully commit my heart to the ways of Yah. I'm not perfect. That's why I've told you, all of you, don't follow me. Follow Yah. Listen to His voice. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Kadosh, set apart. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yehovah your Elohim. In it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, your male or your female, slave or your cattle, or your sojourner who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yehovah made the heavens and earth. And see, He connects it to creation. This is why Sabbath is the ultimate sign that you want to obey Yah. It's the highest of high. It's even above eating clean food. This is the ultimate sign because it shows you respect the creator of the heavens and the earth, Yehovah, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore, Yehovah blessed the Sabbath and made it kadosh, set apart, holy. It is being a sign of worship. Doesn't mean you can't rest on any day, right? This is what the Christians say, sadly. I can rest on any day. Sunday is the Sabbath. Any day is the Sabbath. I rest in Jesus. This is not a correct attitude. That's not what Sabbath is. And this is the same thing you see from lunar Sabbath keepers. They corrupt this as well. Work 6 days, rest one doesn't reset every new moon. It is always work 6 days and rest one. This is the eternal pattern. This is why I've said lunar Sabbath keepers are also in a form of idolatry. You are elevating the moon above its status and importance. There is only one new moon celebration in Torah, and that is the 7th month. It doesn't say the new moons reset the weekly count. It doesn't say that you don't count the new moons toward the new weekly Sabbath count. This 7th day count goes back to creation. And in the wilderness, Moses teaches them how to keep the Sabbath. This is for our benefit. And this is what we're going to go through, some of these passages. Oh, I was going to talk about this as well. In Exodus 17, let's go to this first. This is one of the things I was saying this week. I used to go to like these Babylonian concerts. I used to go to these Babylonian sport games. And what do they always do? They raise their hands up to the people they are worshiping. And yes, raising your hands is another sign of worship, of adoration, of esteeming those people. And, you could feel it if you're sensitive. And Father's made me that way. You can feel the spirit of the air, the worship of these people. It's euphoric. Everyone around you chanting and cheering and worshiping the same thing for the same goal. I don't understand how anyone can say, because it doesn't explicitly say this in Torah, that it is not idolatry. Are you a Shema Yisrael? Are you hearing the voice of the Creator Yehovah? Are you really hearing Him? So that's why I was going to go to Exodus 17 here, right? And when Amalek came and fought against Israel at Rephidim, so Moses said to Yeshua, son of Nun, choose men for us and go out and fight against Amalek. Tomorrow I will take my stand on the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. And Yeshua did as Moshe said, told him to fight against Amalek, and Moses and Aaron went to the top of the hill. So it happened when Moses raised his hands up that Israel prevailed. See the pattern here? Moses was raising his hands to the Creator, Yehovah. And then Israel won the battle. I don't understand how you can't see the connection. You're raising your hands up so your team wins. But it's not idolatry, right? Exodus 16, then we're going to get to the Sabbath. Now it happened that on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread. And this is one of the blessings, of keeping the Sabbath. You will get a double portion. One of the testimonies, and I don't rely on these, is a man who was in a prison camp in the Soviet Union, and he says to his masters, I want to not work on the Sabbath. I want to rest. And he kept the 7th day Sabbath. And they said, if you can do as much work in 6 days as 7 days, you can rest. So he gets the ox to go and collect water from the well and bring it back to the camp. And the first 5 days, this ox is a stubborn-headed ox. It doesn't listen, and he doesn't get very much work done. When the 6th day comes, the man was worried that he was not going to get all the work done. But then the ox on the 6th day did twice as much work because it knew the day of rest was coming. So he got his work done, and the ox and the man rested on the 7th day. So that was his double portion. What is our double portion? Are we receiving a double portion on the sixth day so we can rest and prepare for rest? And this is what you see. Like it's not just why did they receive a double portion? Because like you prepare what you eat, right? And then you eat it during the day. 2 omers for each one. Then all the leaders of the congregation came and told Moshe. They said to them, "This is what Yahweh has spoken. Tomorrow is a Sabbath observance, a holy Sabbath to Yahweh. Bake what you will bake and boil what you boil. All that is in excess put aside to be kept until morning." So they put it aside until morning as Moshe had commanded. And it did not become foul, nor was there any worm in it. Isn't it interesting? Did you catch that? So on the sixth day is when they did the baking and the boiling. On the day of preparation, they collected twice as much manna, and then they prepared that manna to be eaten the next day. You know, I used to believe you could bake on the Sabbath and you can cook on the Sabbath, and it wasn't an issue. But you know, this verse is clear, and it always created a stumbling block when I heard others like teach it's okay to bake on the Sabbath, and I ate those words instead of listening to the voice of Yahweh. And it's like I keep doing this, and I'm tired of it. The voice of Yahweh says, "Do not bake on the Sabbath. Do not cook on the Sabbath." Why? I mean, this should be obvious, right? Cooking is work. Baking is work. It doesn't matter if you're even using a crock pot, right? You still have to prepare the food to put it in the crock pot. So put it in the crock pot on the day of preparation. On the sixth day, make a double portion. That way you can eat the leftovers and not work. Preparation of food is work. So they put it aside until morning, and Moshe had commanded as it had not become foul, nor was there any worm in it. And Moshe said, "Eat it today, for today is the Sabbath to Yahweh, for you will find none of it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, there will be none." And this applied to the foreigners as well. And this is one thing I brought up to a Talmudist. Because they claim that if you keep the Sabbath, you will be put to death. This is what Talmudists teach for the Goyim, the Gentiles, the foreigners. But, the mixed multitude, the foreigners were with them. They would have collected, Shalom sister, they would have collected the manna with the sons of Israel. They would have not seen manna on the seventh day, just like the sons of Israel. There's no reason to think otherwise. The mixed multitude was with them the whole time. Now it happened on the seventh day that some of the people went out together, but they found none. So the mixed multitude, the foreigners, would not have found any either, right? But Yahweh said to Moses, "How long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws?" Why? This is key. This is something else that I've not been heeding like I should. I've not. He says it right there. Because they went out, they were not heeding his mitzvot, his Torah, his instructions, right? And then what does it say? "See, Yahweh has given you the Sabbath, therefore he gives you bread for 2 days on the sixth day. Remain every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day." Like I said, I've not been doing this the way I should. And I'm going to strive to be correct in this. I'm not going to cook on the Sabbath. I'm not going to go out from my dwelling place on the Sabbath. He says right there in Exodus 16:28, That is his commandment, his mitzvot. This is not from Moses. It was from Yehovah. Why would it not apply today? And you have like Torah keepers, Messianics, Talmudists, all teaching the opposite. Well, the Talmudists don't teach you can cook, but they do teach they can go out and go to synagogue. They can walk down the street if it's not too far and go to their synagogue. And they even have, and this is totally ridiculous, in Israel, they have the elevators stop on every floor so that the Talmudist doesn't have to push a button to keep him from working on the Sabbath, even though he's left his dwelling place. Oh, but he's not pushing a button. It's okay, right? This is how ridiculous religion gets. You're not hearing the voice. I mean, as Sister Yarma says, it's crystal clear. How long do you refuse to keep my mitzvot, the commandments? Then he says, do not go out of your dwelling place. I mean, this is not a commandment of Moses. This is something Yehovah says. And yet we continue to be like the Israelites and just do it our own way, to rebel and say, I don't care if it says that they prepared the food on the day of preparation. I don't care if it says they were told not to leave their dwelling place, to remain in their place of habitation on the seventh day. Right. At this point, there is no tabernacle. But if there was, they were still instructed to stay in, right? The tabernacle existing wouldn't change this. It was the Levites who are dedicated to Yehovah that would be at the tabernacle making offerings on the Sabbath. So we already read Exodus 20, so let's go to Exodus 34. You shall work 6 days, but on the seventh day you shall rest. Even during the plow time and the harvest you shall rest. See, the worship that happens through our rest. This is the ultimate sign you respect Creator Yah. You rest. You don't work. You don't go out. You don't partake of worldly things. One of the worldly things that happens on the Sabbath is what? Sports. You can turn on your television and see sports. You haven't left your habitation, right? But you haven't left your habitation, and you turn on the television and you watch your sports. I'm resting, right? I'm inside my house. It's all good. Partaking in sin is still a sin. I mean, if you turn it on, you're effectively paying them on the Sabbath to play a game. So yesterday I was talking about how, I was wrong about the Teflon, and I'm going to try to start wearing them. And the reason for that is I really realized I had been letting the wrong voice in. In Numbers 15, now the sons of Israel were in the wilderness. They found a man gathering wood on the Sabbath day. So he was doing what? He was preparing for the Sabbath on the Sabbath. I mean, that was what I was doing. I deserved to be put to death. And those who found him gathering wood brought him near to Moshe and Aaron and all the congregation. They put him in custody because it had not been declared what should be done with him. See, this is another case, just like we saw in Exodus 16. The explicit Torah wasn't there. But implicitly, we should know, and I should have known, not to go out on the Sabbath, to trust Yah. So then Yehovah said to Moses, the man shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp. So all the congregation brought him outside the camp, and stoned him to death with stones. And this is why the Talmudists are so serious about the goy, the outsider, not keeping Sabbath. Because the command, if you're in covenant, is very serious to break the Sabbath. I mean, this is the same punishment as what? Idolatry. This is serious. The idolatry of not keeping the Sabbath correctly leads to death. Just as Yahweh had commanded Moses. Then Yahweh also spoke to Moses, saying, again, the voice of Yah, saying to Moses, speak to the sons of Israel, tell them that they shall make for themselves tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and that they shall put on a tassel of each corner a cord of blue, and it shall be a tassel for you to look at and remember all the commandments, the mitzvot of Yahweh, so as to do them and not to follow after your own heart, your own eyes, after which you played the harlot, so that you may remember to do all my mitzvot and be holy to your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out from the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. So the whole purpose of a corner fringe, tzitzit, tassel, is remembrance. So we don't go into our own heart and say, I'm going to do what I believe is right for where I'm at. I'm not going to put on the tzitzit anymore, right? Because we're in the wilderness, we're in Babylon. I can't do it right, so I'm not going to do it at all. No, that attitude's gone in my mind. That I'm going to put the tzitzit on and strive to do it right, because it is a remembrance. It is a reminder that it's not about my heart. It's not about my desires. It's about pursuing the voice of Yah. It's about wanting him to be my whole life. I don't think people really get that. Christians definitely don't. The Talmudists definitely don't. Do you want him to be your whole life? And so few people truly want that to rule over their heart. They want to rule over their own heart. This is one of the implicit commands in Torah. Yes, that's what the command says, that all four corners should have a fringe. The reason that every corner has a fringe is that it matches the haaretz, right? And then you have a blue fringe to point you to the Shamayim, the heavens, where the voice of Yahweh lives, where it sends forth its mitzvot. I sadly I agree, Charles. This is why another reason I love Tanakh, right? I mean, you look at Judges, and I know like these should not be viewed as mitzvot, but they should guide us to Torah, right? When Gideon was told to go forth and work with Yah to save the people, what did he tell him? He had 32,000 men. And he said, the people are with you are too many for me to give Midian into their hands, lest Israel honor themselves, saying, my own hand has saved me. And this is our attitude, right? And this is what we see in physical Israel today. Their Iron Dome, their IDF, and they say, our hand has prevailed against our enemy. They don't hear the voice of Yah. They don't revere him. So now come, call out in the hearing of the people, saying, whoever is afraid and trembling, let him return and depart from Mount Gilead. So 2/3, 22,000 people returned, but 10,000 remained. Then Yahweh said to Gideon, the people are still too many. Bring them down to the water, and I will test them for you there. And it will be of he whom I say to you, this one shall go with you, he shall go with you. But everyone of whom I say to you, this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So he brought the people down to the water, and Yahweh said to Gideon, everyone who laps the water from his tun as a dog laps, you shall set him aside by himself, and so also everyone who drinks, who kneels to drink. And so the number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men. So what is it telling you here? Like, the ones that acted with dignity and self-control were the ones he kept. And it was 300. 300 of 32,000 is less than 1%. This is all he chose. And this is what we see in the Torah implicitly. This is what I've been talking about this whole video. Just because you know that Torah is the truth doesn't mean you're going to be in the 300 men that make it into Jerusalem. This is just an example, and I know it's Shechem, not Jerusalem. This is going to the promised land. Just because it's 300 men, right, doesn't mean it's going to be 300. It could be 300,000 of 30 million. That's just an example, like 1%. Like, the entire adult generation, aside from Caleb and Joshua, did not enter the promised land. And this should make everyone who reads Torah, everyone pursuing Yah, just stop and say, is my heart truly right with Yah that I would be able to enter the promised land? And this is the problem with the Talmudists as well. They believe that because they're born a Jew and that the promised land, Israel, is a nation, that they're okay. They are blessed. Are they really? That you're not under any curses, any affliction? And I've asked Talmudists this, why are the Palestinians attacking your nation if you're protected by Yah? If you're blessed? You know what the answer is? Insta-block. They don't want to be confronted with truth. And many of us don't. When the truth comes about how extremely small and refined this is going to get, we don't want to hear it. You want to say, oh, I know I'm following the truth. Are you doing what's right? Another place you see this refinement, I believe, is Zechariah 13. Is that right? Yeah. So at the end of Zechariah, it says, after it talks about the false shepherd, it says, awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man, my associate, declares Yahweh of hosts. Strike the shepherd that the sheep may be scattered, and I will turn my hand against the little ones. It will be in all the land, declares Yahweh. The last two parts of it will be cut off, and their breath the last, right? The same ratio. 2/3 are just going to be instantly cut off. Then that will leave the third left, right? But then that third part will go through the fire, refining them as silver is refined, and testing them as gold is tested. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. And I will say, these are my people. And they say, Yahweh is my Elohim. Does this mean that he's teaching Torah? I believe so, because it's backed up by Judges. I believe these are revealing something that's implicitly in Torah that only those seeking the voice of Yah see. It's Not everyone who knows the truth is going to be in the promised land. It's only those that are truly striving to obey the voice of Yah. Those that truly purge their heart of all of Babylonian idolatry. Like, when you wake up in the morning, what are you calling out to Yah for? I'm calling out for deliverance from Babylon. I don't want to be in Babylon anymore. I praise Yah for this edification this morning. Let us worship Yah in obedience and truth. Hallelujah. Amen. Amen. Thank you for watching live. Hope all brother and sister, you have a good day.